We have a special guest online, Debbie Richmond from Bridgehaven Services. And hi, Debbie, you there?
Yes, I'm here. Hello, Laura.
Thank you so much for being with us today. I know you're a clinical nurse specialist in psychiatric mental health nursing at Bridgehaven Mental Health Services, right?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Thank you, first of all, for speaking with us today. It's WFBK's Mental Health Day. We've been doing this every Wednesday since the pandemic came to Louisville, and have found that mental health experts really have so much to offer, especially right now. And we wanted to talk with you today specifically about grief and what you know about grief and how to deal with it. I mean, a lot of people are losing loved ones right now.
Yes.
I'll let you speak. I'll explain more later, but go ahead, please.
First, I want to say that my heart goes out to everyone who is suffering a loss at this time. It is a particularly difficult time to deal with loss because everybody's already dealing with other day-to-day losses, and then to lose a loved one compounds that.
Yes, definitely. How would somebody, sometimes, people feel grief and they can't even articulate it. Like they just know that something's wrong. They know that they feel badly, but they're not really even sure as to why. What are some of the symptoms of grief, perhaps, that, you could be feeling it and not recognizing it?
Well, very often it begins with just feelings of disbelief, shock. Can't believe this is happening. This is, something I just can't connect. I can't accept. Sometimes that goes on for a while, and then we start to experience feelings of anger. This isn't right. This shouldn't happen. It isn't fair. And that anger may not even be direct the source of the grief if we haven't made that connection. We may just feel angry. And then we also will come to some feelings of sadness, and sometimes trying to say, oh, if only I had done this, it might have been different. It might have turned out differently. We may find that we're sort of going...
that we're sort of what? Can you say that again? That we're sort of what? Because we kind of lost you there for a second. So.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
We may find that we are going through our day and not really connecting with any people or activities. We may have just a lot of upsetting thoughts on our minds, and it's important to do some things to help ourselves connect with what we're feeling and acknowledge our feelings of loss.
What kind of things?
Well, things that can help that. Now, if this is about the loss of a loved one, even though we may not have a memorial service at this point, it would help to do some things like an obituary, writing an obituary, reaching out to people who have known your loved one and talking to them, letting them know what happened, sharing stories, maybe making some plans for when you do have the memorial service. Those are some things if you have lost a person at this time. Other things that help connect with feelings is sometimes journal writing. And just write down what's going on in your head and practice some self-compassion. acknowledging that this is a particularly hard time to be dealing with loss. Write about what you're feeling. Remind yourself of how you have dealt with past challenges. What are your strengths? How did you get through it?
What would you say to someone who asks you, so when will this grief be over?
I would say that grief does have as most people have heard, there are stages of grief. However, this is a time where grief is more complicated. So the expectation of, I just have to get over this, is putting undue pressure on ourselves. Just need to accept it's going to take as long as it takes, and that those stages of grief, once you get through the first stage, it doesn't mean you will not re-experience some of those feelings again. So we just need to allow ourselves to connect with what we're feeling and do those things that help us do that, and be compassionate and not put a time frame on what it means to get over the grief. I will also add, in my personal experience, even when you have gone through the stages of grief, there will always be those times when you re-experience some of those feelings of sadness and loss. And that is normal. That is to be expected.
Yeah, grief is, at least in my experience, has been cyclical. It comes back around. And
Yes.
I would say the intensity sometimes loosens its grip, over time.
Yes.
But it really, it seems to me that joy and grief kind of walk hand in hand from that point on. And you can have mixed emotions. You could be feeling grief. You could also be feeling joy at the same time. And that can be confusing for some people. Like they might feel, I can't be happy. I'm supposed to be grieving,
And I think that can be very true. And we just have to, again, allow ourselves to feel the way we feel. And also, there is something that happens when you have gone through your grief for a period of time and you do come to some acceptance. You also come to valuing and seeing the relationship in terms of the meaning it gave to your life. And sometimes that makes you smile. And sometimes that might make you feel a little sad.
Yeah.
But that's all okay.
Now, where can people go if, let's say, they're in deep grief and they're feeling like, I really need to talk to somebody? How can they reach out, especially during this time of social distancing and what we're going through?
Well, I mean, the first line of people to reach out to would be your close family, friends, through video chatting or Skype. And I think that is very important, not to withdraw, but to reach out. I also want to add that it is extremely important not to try to avoid the feelings by substance abuse or withdrawal, because that will only make things so much harder in the long run. So reaching out to the people you trust to talk about how you're feeling. And I will also put in here that I do work at Bridgehaven, and if people do find themselves really, really stuck, we're reaching out to family and friends. It's just not doing it, and they're worried about their mental health. We are still taking in new members if that is something that they feel they need.
Are you offering telehealth or telehealth conferencing or anything like that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we are.
Okay.
The building, the program in the building is not happening, but the telehealth definitely is, and we are providing as many services to members as we can at this time, trying to be creative.
Excellent. Well, Debbie Richmond, thank you so much for speaking with us today. We do appreciate it and hope that you're okay, and as is your family and everybody you know. We really appreciate it.
It has. I'm glad for the opportunity, and I hope you stay well. Stay well also. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. Bye.
Bye.
So, Debbie Richmond's she's a clinical nurse specialist in psychiatric mental health nursing, and that's at Bridgehaven Mental Health Services, which I'm sure you could Google and find out more about. We've also got some resources on our website under WFPK's Mental Health Day, so check those out as well. Here's another request for John Prine, who we lost yesterday, and I know many folks are grieving about that today, me included. My hand is raised. So this has been really healing for me to play all this great John Prine for you. This is One Red Rose from a listener in Muscle Shoals, Alabama. This album, I think, might have been recorded there, is what he said. Storm Windows, One Red Rose, John Prine.